So Sam, what prompted the partnership between G&D and Satellite? And what factors do you think influenced the decision to collaborate in addressing coverage gaps in cellular IoT connectivity?
Yeah, well, I think for a long time now, we've been kind of looking at alternative solutions because, traditional cellular coverage or terrestrial networks only cover about 20% of, the world's surface. And yet IoT applications kind of spread far beyond, population centers and often, need rural coverage. And frankly, terrestrial networks just aren't quite up to scratch in terms of coverage to enable that. So when we were kind of 5 years ago looking at all the different kind of LEO constellations going up, and we've always paid a strong interest in that, but maybe, the timing wasn't quite right. And what we saw in the last 2 years is a real shift, and that the fact that now this is all kind of 3GPP standard as well means that it's much more adoptable, much more attainable, and I think it's kind of just a really good time to do it. And Satellite C are offering something pretty unique in the market, and then we felt that they'd be a great partner to really enable us this kind of offering of cellular plus satellite within a single solution.
Yeah, it's quite exciting actually. Yeah. So what opportunities do you foresee in integrating 5G satellite connectivity for IoT devices?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunities. I think there's obviously tons of use cases, but I think really where we see it is more kind of on the technical side. So mission critical IoT applications are basically more and we're seeing them kind of arise more and more often. And so again, like we talked about with the limitations in coverage, you can't necessarily have an application out there that might be without communication for a day or two, depending on what it's doing. And so I think we see this kind of roam on, roam off kind of opportunity where you're not using any one technology in isolation, but actually using them as complementary technologies to really achieve basically fuller, greater coverage and more reliable coverage, because then you always have a failover, whether it's in terrestrial coverage and the signal disappears, or whether it's outside of the terrestrial network and it needs to communicate something important due to some emergency. And and even though it's not real-time, it's real-time enough that it can add a lot of value for organizations. Yeah.
So in your opinion, what specific industries or use cases stand to benefit the most from the combined capabilities of cellular and satellite IoT connectivity?
Yes, I think it's the kind of use cases that are probably a little more rural today. So, I mean, we see a lot of interest in the agricultural space. So, big ranches, particularly say in South America, where, it's almost impossible to connect, think about a feed trough or something like that, where, someone's having to physically go out and check the level of feed in there, and that's time and money. Whereas if you can connect this food